Knowing where to start is often the challenge of getting going, and that's what I want to help with this morning, giving you some ideas to take away today to try and get more conversations going, to convert more customers, and some little tips and hints to get things going. So, first place I want to start is the evolution of lead generation. And I want this to be quite open when we're talking about this, so please feel free to jump in and ask questions. What changes have you seen with how people are selling to you since the pandemic? Is anyone open to sharing their thoughts on that? Have you noticed how things have changed?
There's a lot more direct selling. Like people think it's perfect acceptable. Say, Jodie, do you want a new boiler now?
Yeah, and I get fed up with LinkedIn where people get into your inbox and there's no introduction, it's just straight away it's wanting to sell you something, and I just delete them.
It's horrible, isn't it? It's horrible. Yeah. So before starting my own thing, I used to work for a local company that were a telemarketing agency, and we could get appointments for anything by making 20 calls every single hour, and the agents would be hammering the phones. We used to say it was a bit like Wolf of Wall Street, but every time we'd make 20 calls, we knew we'd speak to one person every single hour. And that was the way that we got appointments for our customers to grow their businesses. But since the pandemic, things completely changed because you couldn't get hold of anyone on the phone anymore because nobody really has an office phone. Everything's on video now, isn't it? So the way that the world went was that everyone was on Teams and Zoom, and it was completely different. You had to I found in my role that I was at the time in a tech company, I was just brought in to get them new business in enterprise, and I was thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because we can't make 20 calls every hour anymore because nobody's going to answer the phone. So how on earth are we going to get new business in? So I'd read some things about something called a cadence, which is basically a sequence of actions that you take to get contact with somebody. And the way that we found worked for us was email, LinkedIn, and calls, but the calling part was very small. And since the pandemic, there's a company called eConsultancy, I don't know if anyone's heard of them, but they shared that 44% of marketeers said that they've had to completely change their marketing mix since the pandemic. And that's because now we're all attached to our phones 24 hours a day, which as business owners is tough, it's constant, you can't turn off from it. And the thing with that is if you can get your marketing right, you can educate your customers before they're customers, so that they'll buy things from you when they've got the requirement. So what I mean by that is if you're, think about the last thing that you brought. For me it was my website, which probably isn't the best example because I had a nightmare with it, but we'll go with it. But so I'd seen a company all over LinkedIn and they were posting all this good stuff. And for months before I needed my new website, I'd already built a relationship with them before I'd even spoke to them. So when I needed a website, I went directly to them and worked with them, and that's how the digital age has changed what we do with with educating people. So that's a big piece. Now this is something that I taught Steve recently, the pitch slap. It's absolutely horrendous on LinkedIn, and it's just crazy because somewhere there's just obviously CEOs that think it's absolutely acceptable to just let their business development people go gung-ho on LinkedIn, and you get a connection request that says something like the word synergies or fostering, and then the next minute, bang, you've got pitch slapped, which is you get something in your inbox where they're like, do you want to buy this? And I find it really offensive actually when I get it, because I'm really proud of my brand, as I'm sure you guys all are, and if somebody doesn't take 2 seconds to just look at something, then I'm just like, research literally takes seconds on LinkedIn now. You can go on somebody's profile, you can pick out a couple of things, you can see what they're posting, what they're talking about, and you can make a genuine connection. And the way that marketing is going and sales is going in 2024 is it is all about human and genuine connections. And I think the companies that are still in this pitch slap space and they think that's okay, they're gonna really struggle because it's not a way to generate business. Wanted to share a couple of examples of where it's going wrong. These are genuine things that I've had. So this was an email and it said, "Hi Jodie, would falling back in love with your business and winning consistently would be of interest and value to your business." So 1, that doesn't make any sense. And 2, I actually am in love with my business. And 3, in my eyes, I am winning. So it really kind of took me back. And I was like, well, what? And then underneath that, this person said, "Oh, if you give me £3,500, I'll come and do a motivational talk to your company." And I just read it and thought, well, 1, I'm not your ideal customer because I'm a one-woman band, and 2, that's not going to encourage people to have a £3,500 talk from you, because they're going to read that twice and go, have I just read that wrong, or is that right? So these are some terrible examples. And this one, I can't see this from down here. So save on tech hiring, this is another one. As the financial visionary of Outbound Marketing Group, I know you're looking for creative ways to lower your employee costs. I don't have any employees. So I was like, okay, some of your hiring goals. And I'm like, well, have I got someone working for me that I don't know about, because I'm not hiring anything? So there's another example. Then this one, I'd like to connect with you and look at getting a Teams meeting in the diary to discuss your mobile phone contracts and how I may be able to help you. If you aren't the go-to person, can you point me in the right direction? I'm just like, Kelly, mate, come on, like, look at my profile, you can see I'm a one-woman band. I obviously have one mobile phone, and you could have probably, at the time, I needed a new business contract, but when I read that, I was just like, decline, not interested. And then the last one, hi Jodie, I fully understand that hiring an SEO specialist for outbound marketing may not be your department. If so, could you possibly nudge me in the right direction so I can share this opportunity? But I mean, we probably all get these emails, right, every single day, and this is not how to market your brand and your offering. And one thing that kind of really bugs me, and the reason I started my business, is that there's so many companies out there that's goal is money. And what they want is money, and they want to take people's money and make as much money as they can and give really crappy advice. And unfortunately for us, there's lots of those out there, especially in the lead generation world. You know, I get messages every day on LinkedIn where somebody will be like, hey Jodie, I could triple your revenue overnight, and you know, it's going to cost you, you know, whatever it is. And you're just like, but how are you going to do that? You're not going to create authentic relationships. So I'm making it my mission to help companies in Portsmouth get more business, but do it the right way. So the first thing I'm going to do for everyone that's here today, I created a workshop on lead generation. So if I'll get Penny to circulate the details of the email, but everyone that wants access can have access to it. It's CPD certified, so it means that it follows all of the CPD guidelines, and you get a certificate on completion to show that you've gone through it, which is an official certificate. It goes through and talks to you about everything you need to know to really understand lead generation. So I'll tell you a bit more about that in the email. But what I wanted to talk about is the business development toolbox next, because there's lots of different things that you can use to create new opportunities. And it doesn't matter whether you've got thousands of pounds to spend, hundreds of pounds, or no pounds. There is a way that you can get conversations going and make it cost effective. So I'm going to talk to you about some of those things now. So the first one, does anyone have much experience of Google, Facebook and Instagram ads? A little bit? Yeah. So this is a great way. At the moment, for those of you that don't know, Google have, so basically what Google ads is, when people go onto Google and they search for something, it's the opportunity for you to come up first, and you create an ad, and the idea is that ad reads well enough for somebody to go, oh, that looks good, I'm going to click on that. And then when they click on it, you pay. You don't pay before they click. And then obviously the idea is you drive more traffic to your website, and if your copy's good on your website, then people are going to read it and they're going to inquire to ask you for a quote. Google have got a promotion on where if you spend £400, they give you £400 credit. So for £400, you can get £800 worth of credit, which is a big recommend. And I'm not a specialist in Facebook ads or Instagram ads or Google ads, but I do know people that do it, and I can highly recommend it because it's a really good way to get some low-hanging fruits, good some leads in. So that's the first tip. Any questions on that one? Is anyone doing any of those?
Google offer expires?
I don't think it does. No, it's just like an ongoing thing. It's been there for the last year and a half, so I think it's just to get people to use Google ads. But I will say, if you're going to do it, make sure you go with somebody that knows what they're doing, because if you're going to spend £400, you want to make sure that you get something back for that £400, and you work with somebody that does a good job, because there's lots of companies out there that will do it and they'll do a crap job and you won't get anything back from it, and it gives it a bad name when actually it's good if you use the right person to do it.
They are doing free stuff for non-profits as well.
Are they?
Yeah, so good. So Becky and Bianca, if you look it up, you like Google non-profits, and they give you so much free. I haven't totally worked it out yet because I'm not very good at tech, but they are doing a free thing. I just need someone techie to help with it. But have a look at it.
Maybe workshop, because I'm shit.
I can't do it, yeah, but you can get it free.
They also offer for charity free email and stuff like that. So the business applications is often a chance for organisations. Depends who you, I mean, basically Facebook and Instagram are Meta. They're both Meta, let's say. So you always understand what Mr. Facebook's thing was. He wanted to set up an advertising company, and the way he did it was create connections with Facebook. And here we are today. So they are the major. Some challenges with Facebook though. They are renowned for closing down business accounts and putting business when people have got to that peak. It takes some weeks to get those back online. And it's a massive issue because what happens is guys, they don't really care. Google's a bit better. But I mean that it's one of those challenges. And you can also turn on your backloads and streams and see what you're interested in.
The next one we've got is calling. You can't beat a call. Like if there's a company that you think is good to work with, just pick up the phone and have a conversation with them. One of the things in my workshop talks about how you can create a kind of almost a guide for yourself if you're going to do that, because you obviously have to say the right thing to get through to them, otherwise you won't even get past the person on reception. The next one is your website, and when I talk to people about their websites, I talk to them about a guy called John who's got a shop, right? And John's shop, he spent all his money making this shop absolutely incredible. He's bought all the best stuff to put in the shop, and he gets 15 to 20 people that go in that shop every day, but nobody buys anything from him. Would you say that his shop is rubbish? Yeah, yes. Like nobody's buying anything. Yeah. A website is basically a digital shop, so it needs to be primed for people to come in and want to buy things. And there are leads on your website, whether it's, depending on the size of traffic you've got, whether it's every day or every week, you'll have people coming on there that are interested in your products or services, or it could be if you had the right things for them to look at. So your website can be a really powerful tool for generating new business. And for larger businesses, there's software out there where you can actually get data on businesses that are looking at your website. So I used to work for them, so I'm lucky that I've got it for free. It is really expensive though, so normal people like us probably couldn't afford it for our businesses. But it does do a good job because it shows you who is actually on the website as in the business. So that's another little tip. Networking, like we're doing now, talking to people, getting out there, getting your product out there. Email marketing. Does anyone do email marketing? Yeah. Email marketing is a great way to get some low-hanging fruit, but you've got to stand out from the crowd because of the things that I showed you earlier. When people get these emails in their inbox, you've genuinely got to capture their attention very quickly to get in front of them, because if you don't, you're just going to go in the spam and they're not going to read it. Email is good, but it's quite expensive to do now. If you wanted a small list, you'd probably be looking at maybe 400 or 500, maybe even more pounds for a list of data. Then you've got to pay for the email sending platform, which is probably another £100. So it's not the most cost-effective way, in my opinion, to get new business these days. But there is a space for it, and it when plugged in with other things, it can be a good driver.
That's only business to business, isn't it? Because otherwise you're breaking the GDPR.
Yeah, so I should say, like, my specialism is B2B more than B2C, but I don't know kind of how the land lies with B2C email lists. You could probably.
You can only do it if you keep a database of your own customers and they've signed in to say that it's okay for you to keep their information and send it out,
That's
can't
quite
you?
true. Their email address is available on social media. You can email. So if it's available, so you've got to be worried about data protection stuff. Sorry, I'm a data protection expert as well.
Oh, good. That's good.
So if it's publicly available but you don't know, so if you purchase a list and they say these email addresses, you've got to have understanding what it was. So actually, when they provide the information, you then to say that they've got given consent when it's publicly available, and then you can use it legitimately. I would always say the problem is do the person ever want email from you, because it's this you create a bad connection at the starting point.
You've then got, so who's got a CRM system? Yeah, great. Genuine true story here. So I've been running my business for 1.5 years, and when I work with clients, I'm always saying to them, you need a CRM system to put all of your lapsed and current customers in. The reason it's so important is because it's so easy to forget people. And this is a genuine honest story. So when I started my business 1.5 years ago, I spoke to a company and I sent them quite a big proposal, and they were like, yeah, this is really good, we're really interested, but things were a bit busy, kind of, circle back to us and talk to us later. I went off and just did what we all do, which is get lost in the general day-to-day of running your business. And it wasn't until I had a call with Steve earlier this week last week, wasn't it, about HubSpot. I was like, oh God, I've really let the ball drop with my CRM system. I need to get it updated. Found that lead and was like, oh my God, I totally forgot about them. Messaged them and they're like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, that's literally like, that's bad from me because I should know better. But that's why CRMs are so important, because you can then keep track of those. We don't win every conversation we speak to, but sometimes if you keep in touch with your lapsed customers, you will find, low-hanging fruit that you might be able to convert quite quickly. So inquiries that people might have sent you where they said, oh yeah, leave the quote with me and I'll come back to you. If you go back to them and say, how's things going? Just thought I'd check in with you. There's a chance that, a small percentage of those might say, actually, yeah, this is the right time for me to speak to you now. Or unconverted inquiries where you've maybe tried to get hold of them once and you've not spoken to them again. That's a great way to get some low-hanging fruit. So having a CRM system is super important. You can get HubSpot for free and it's really easy to use. Steve's just set it up for his business and it's easy peasy. Yeah.
So that really quick story. So having set up HubSpot for free, and I'm sure there's people in here that are much more advanced than me, I've discovered that if you send your proposals via HubSpot, HubSpot will tell you when the person has opened the email. So if you sent out 10, who's actually looking at the emails and not coming back to you, and who isn't looking at the emails and not coming back to you. So you can tailor your response to them. Whereas if you don't have that and you're blind, you might presume that everyone's just looking and not responding. So I found that.
And it's got an integration where if you've got Gmail, you've got Outlook as well, haven't you? Yeah. So your emails will automatically upload into the CRM system as well.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to do anything. So at least when you see a company come in and you're like, what? Because you know what it's like. You have all these conversations and sometimes you forget. If you just find the company it's in HubSpot, you can then see exactly the conversation you've had and remind yourself quite quickly about what you've spoken about. So it's a really powerful tool. Considering it's free, it's a no-brainer. Really,
I was going to say, you're using the free one. And it's also really good for producing landing pages and things like that.
So is that different to MailChimp?
Yes.
Yes, completely different.
Yeah.
I haven't got a clue.
HubSpot's more about managing the relationship.
Yeah.
MailChimp is more about sending mail campaigns. HubSpot will do mail campaigns, but it does it differently.
I've used it in big corporate.
Yeah, it's great. Although, there's probably only a handful of people actually using it. I've just started working with a new client and I'm like, right, let me see your current client list, your lapsed client list. And the CEO's like, it's kind of in here. And I'm like, oh my God, you've got to get that written down on paper because otherwise nobody knows. So yeah, it's really important. And then the two biggest ones that I'm a believer in is LinkedIn and a software called Galaxy. So LinkedIn is absolutely huge and there's just so many, I think there's something like millions of, I've got the stats somewhere, they're in my workshop, but there's millions of buyers on LinkedIn and it's such an easy way, if you get it right, to have good conversations with your ideal customer. So one of the things I go through in my workshop is understanding and taking time to really understand who your ideal customer is, what do they look like. So I don't mean the job title, what I mean is what size is the company, where are they based, what job title would that be, look at your data that you've got, who's brought the most from you and what industry have they been in. Who are the clients that are sticky and what do they look like, and that gives you an idea of who your ideal customer is. There's tools on LinkedIn, there's something called Sales Navigator. Has anyone heard of that? Yeah? So if you haven't, Sales Navigator, basically it's part of LinkedIn, but it allows you to really sort the data in LinkedIn to create a refined list. So you can use all of their contacts they've got on there and you can apply filters that will tell you, say for example, you wanted to speak to CEOs in manufacturing companies with 1 to 11 employees in the South Sea area or Portsmouth. You can refine a list and then you can get a list and then you can plug it into softwares like Galaxy, which you can get a free trial of. And then Galaxy is a software that will automate your LinkedIn process for you. Which is amazing. And I don't know who was at PB last time, but was anyone here for Ronnie's chat? So Ronnie that does the Inspirational Women of Portsmouth Awards. So after Ronnie's chat, she said she was really struggling with getting sponsorships. So I was like, come round mine and we'll sit down. She brought some croissants round and we sat there and I automated the LinkedIn campaign for her to get some, just from her existing network, to get some sponsorship conversations. She got 2 sponsorships and she didn't have to do anything apart from give me an hour of her time to sit and set it up for her. So what that does is that one went to her existing network, but you can put it to whatever contacts you like. You can send a tailored message, but it has to be super personalised and stand outside from all of that other pitch slap rubbish that's out there. And it just gets conversations going, but it automates it on your behalf. So you can be cracking on with your other work, and in the background, the software can be building your network of connections to your ideal customer. It can be sending connection requests, it can be sending messages, and you can create a cadence on there for it to then follow up those messages. So it can do a connection request that says, hey, I'm Jodie, I'm a local business owner in Portsmouth, looking to grow my network. Then 2 days later, it will send another message that says, hey, I'm really glad to connect, I'm glad you've accepted my request, what's going on in your world? And then all I have to do when people reply is to pick up that conversation and say, yeah, really good, thank you, glad to hear that's going well, and then you're in a conversation with somebody. But Walaxy is incredible, and I can't recommend it enough. I'm actually helping Penny with it after for LinkedIn Local, get it set up to get some sponsorships in. But I'll definitely recommend having a look at it. And if anyone wants to look at it in any more detail, then I can always do another Zoom session or whatever, Google Meet, to show you how it works. Yes.
It's also, this place is, if ever you wanted to do like that more detail for a workshop,
Yeah.
you can use this space.
Yeah.
Because we don't use it on a Monday or a Friday.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what small businesses need, is that actual physical help. That like, if you press this is what it shows you, and not on Zoom, in person. Because I think that would be a really good thing.
Yeah, well, I'd love to, because another thing that really frustrates me about this is Walaxy is so, you can get a free trial for a month, that's the first thing, and then it actually only costs, I think it's like 80 or 90 quid a month, which is nothing. However, there's companies on LinkedIn and influencers, whatever you call, that charge like £3,000-4,000 to set up one of these campaigns, and I absolutely hate it, because I'm like, how can you do that? It's like an easy bit of software to use. It's just teaching people how to do it. So I'm absolutely open to doing another session here on Friday and showing you all how to do it, get it up and running, because it's a great bit of software. And the Walaxy one, there's a lot of them out there, but this one's really user friendly, easy to use. And it's easy to manage, which is important because tech can be quite overwhelming for a lot of people, and it can be quite confusing. But we use it for Portsmouth Pride as well. We're just about to launch another campaign to try and get some partnerships in, and it just saves so much time, because you don't have to sit and go through all the people and be like, right, well, that person looks good, I'm going to connect with them. And then they connect with you, but you've forgotten that you sent them that connection request, or LinkedIn doesn't remind you. So the fact that Walaxy can just almost be like your virtual assistant in the background to do all that stuff for you is an absolute game changer. And there's some really strong results that come out of it as well when it's used properly. But it's important to use it properly and not use it to pitch slap people, which is basically what people are using when you get those pitch slaps. I wanted to go through, Steve asked me to include this actually, so I wanted to go through the stages of lead generation. I'm really conscious of time, like I said, I could literally talk about this with you all day because I love it. But I'm going to try and speed through this. So I'm going to get these all on the screen. So in my opinion, I think there's 6 areas to consider when you're thinking about lead generation. So the first thing is you need to create awareness of your product or your service. That's really important. But what's important when you do that is to target your ideal customers' pain points. And a big mistake that I often see with people that are trying to generate business is they'll quite often talk about themselves and they'll talk about what they do. But what you should be talking about is what problems do you solve for your customers, what headaches do you take away from them, and how do you help them. Customer testimonials is super powerful. So if you were going to do a LinkedIn campaign, for example, the best thing to do for LinkedIn, there's 3 things, 3 posts a week I would suggest you do. The first one is the 2 first ones together. So create awareness of your product by using pain points of your customer. That's number 1. So a post that says, something about how you've recently a pain point that happens and how you combat that. Then the next post will be a customer testimonial of somebody saying how you help them with that headache. And then the next one, the last post, would be a call to action. And then obviously the conversions is a big part of that, because a lot of people are quite good at creating the awareness and making those pain points and sharing the customer testimonials. But when it comes to the converting part, we might follow up once and then we won't try again. But if we didn't get hold of them on the phone, we then drop it and then we forget, and then we might pick it up again. So the conversion and the follow up are the 2 last really important parts of that. But if you were to get on LinkedIn and kind of schedule 3 posts, that would be my top tips for you to keep as a strategy to use to generate some opportunities. And it does take a while to build that up. It's not something that happens quickly. It's not a quick win. It does take time. But all of the business that I've had, bar one client, which was somebody I knew, has come from LinkedIn. And quite often it's someone I've never even spoken to or I don't know, and they'll message me and say, oh, I've spotted you do pre-sales MOTs, like, can we have a call? Can you talk me through it? And I'm like, how do I know this person? And then I'm like, when I get on the call with them, I'm like, oh, how did you hear of me? And they're like, oh, I saw your comment on LinkedIn, or I saw your post of how you helped so-and-so, and I think you could help me. So it's not a quick win, but it takes time, but it will get you there. I'm really, really conscious of everyone's time. How are we doing with time, Mark?
It's
Good.
10:15.
Yeah, because there was 2 things I wanted to go through, which will really help you get started on this piece. Because a big common mistake that I see a lot of businesses make is they don't have a target in place for the volume of leads they need to generate. They'll just say, I need to get more leads, and I'm like, great. Well, how many do you need to get? And they'll be like, well, I don't really know, Jodes, actually, but I just need to get more leads. I'm like, okay, well, let's get some numbers. So I'm going to try and do a really quick exercise with you. If you want to do it whilst we're chatting, then please give it a go, because I think it will really help you. Love this quote from Tony Robbins as well. So this is how I would suggest you set yourself a target if you don't already have one, okay? So think about, what is your sales target this year, if you've got that in mind. So what's the number that you need to deliver this year? So that could be just enough to pay, for me, when I work out mine, I'm like, right, what do I need to get by on the bones of my arse at least this year, as most of us do? And that's kind of the baseline target that I have for myself. And then anything past that is a win. So think about what your sales target is for the year. And then think about, what is your average order value, okay? The way to work that out is to look at all of the sales that you've made and obviously just take an average, because I know for some of you, some average order values will be bigger than others, and it will depend on the job. But if you can look at a rough idea of your average order value, that's a good place to start. This hopefully isn't complicated. I'm going to try and explain it really simply. So in this example we've got on the screen, if your sales target, for example, was £12,000 and your average order value was £500, we then know from doing that sum that we need 24 sales. Okay, so the sum at the bottom is 12,000, which is our sales target, £500, which is our average order value, and that means we need 24 sales this year to hit target. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So we've now got a sales target. The next one is then how many leads do... Oh, okay, back. It's all right. Sorry. I'll go back. There we go. I'll share this with Finny, she can send it out. The next one is our lead volume target. So it's great that we know that we need 24 sales, but how many leads are we going to need to get those 24 sales? Because that's another thing that we don't often think about. So what's your conversion rate? Do you know what your conversion... Do you know what conversion rate is? I know that might be a sucking question. Yeah, conversion rate is...
Customer into a sale.
Yeah, spot on, Jack. Yeah, exactly. So it's how many customers you speak to. How many customers do you speak to that result in then you getting a sale? Okay, so the sum for this one is a little bit different. So we know that we need 24 sales, but for this example, let's say that 50% of the leads that we generate convert to a sale. So we then know that in order to hit that target, we need 48 leads to close 24. Does that make sense? Yeah? So there's an example of that sum below. But I think that's a really good place to start before you even think about even how you're going to do lead generation, is understanding what your number is and then almost plastering that number on your office wall or whatever it is, so you're working towards it and you've got a target and a goal in place to stick to. But make sense? Mm-hmm. Has anyone already got that in place, or is anyone thinking, yeah, I need that? Yeah.
First in place.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I understand the theory. For those of us that haven't done this exercise before,
Yeah.
and haven't got a Scooby what our current conversion rate is, is there a figure that would be sensible, useful to consider, or does it vary so much that it's arbitrary?
Yeah, it really varies. Everyone's conversion rate in this room will be totally different. Every industry, every different business, because obviously everyone's ability is different, their offerings are different, so it really depends. The easiest way to do it is, again, if you've got a CRM system in place and you've got a list of all of the inquiries that you get coming in, and then you've got on the next side of that the ones that you've closed, You can work it out pretty simply. You could probably sit down and actually have a think about it and be like, right, okay, well, let's think about, I've had these ones come in, these are the ones I've closed, and you can kind of work it out that way. It's not so.
So the challenge you've got there is that you're not monitoring it.
That's right.
So there's no data. So to be honest, it's like when I talk about anything to do with data, what I do is say, what do you think? So you can say, are they 24? And then see 24 digit. And then say, is that too low or does it need to be higher?
Yeah.
And then continue to do that, because think about this way, everybody wants to get perfection. That's ridiculous. What you should do is just go, you're going to go for something, monitor what that is and see what efforts you put in, and then see how that's it. Because you might say 24, you say, gee, wow, I can't believe it, 24, I converted 22.
Yeah.
It might be brilliant. So the whole point is, what do you do? So rather than spending so much time procrastinating about what that should be, just go 20, 50, and then see what you get from that.
Yeah.
And monitor it for, monitor it weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever you're doing, and then you'll have an understanding, because once you then start monitoring it, you'll understand what you're doing.
Yeah. And some of you might be surprised. You might actually look at it and be like, oh, actually, I'm quite chuffed with that. That's actually really good. And then some of you might be like, oh, God, I've really got to step my game up. I need some help on this. I need to get converting more. But I definitely recommend that as your starting place. Like, so work out your targets first, and then try and think about how you're going to get to getting those numbers. The last thing that I'd like you to do is, as a CPD certified business owner, reflection's really important to me, because that's how you learn things, and Steve and I talk about this a lot. So I'd like you to write down the answer to this question: how will today's insights shape tomorrow's action? So what have I given you today in this talk that's given you food for thought? That will be something that you can take away tomorrow to really think, right, I'm gonna do this. You don't have to answer it. If anyone wants to share, they can.
Just say the video on how to use Wellexy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, that would be great for you, Jack, with your sponsorship stuff.
To employ you an hour a week.
Yeah, do you know what? It's been really weird. Like, how I thought I was going to run my business has ended up being totally different, because I work with like some corporate companies like I'm doing at the moment, where I work with them for 2 days a week. But then there's other business owners like Abby down at the host space, who I just worked with for an hour and a half to set her campaign up and then kind of get her going. But everything, like, I love helping people. It makes me so happy. So I'm not doing it. Obviously, I've got bills to pay and I need to earn money to live. But I don't do what I do to make millions. As long as I can survive, I'm happy with that. But it makes me so happy helping people achieve things. And one of the companies I worked with back end of last year, I worked with them for 4 days, and for a whole quarter, they saw a 149% increase in sales just from 4 days of working with me. And that's the kind of thing that gets me buzzing and excited. It's not looking in the bank and seeing how much money's in there. It's looking at, right, I've made a real impact for that business, and that makes me, super, super happy. And I can go to sleep at night thinking, do you know what, I've made a great result there.
Can I get your business card at the end?
I don't have a business card.
Can I get your number?
You can get my number.
Brilliant.
Yeah, or I'm on LinkedIn or anything, but yeah.
Is there a difference between a physical product, if you sell a physical product, and a non-physical product?
No, because the messaging and the way that you start the conversation is exactly the same. So ultimately, it doesn't matter what your product or your service is. You can pretty much follow the same framework to get conversations going. So for you, it would be connecting with, the marketing directors, chief marketing officers in corporate businesses. Connecting with them and saying, well, it could even be that you might send them a box for free and say, we'd love to work with you. Here's what we do. Can I send you one of our boxes? And that could be your message. And then when they come back to you, obviously you've then got a lead out of it. But the thing with lead generation is it can be any product, any service, as long as you follow the same processes, you can get the result. Which is, I find it frustrating when people are like, oh, but you can't do this. You've got to do it. It's exactly the same. Just whatever the product or service is, if you follow the same process, you'll get the same result.
I think that my answer to that question is, I tried. Jodie and I were testing each other's courses, and we were coming at it from a what's the course like perspective. And when I did Jodie's course, I thought I can see how organisations would benefit from this. What I didn't realise at the time was actually I can see how individual sole traders like me could benefit from it, because the principles are absolutely sound. And whilst it takes a bit of getting your head around, particularly the cadence and the campaign and the conversion and all that kind of stuff, just thinking clearly about, I actually need to go out and get business, I need to go and do this, and I need to monitor that performance. It's been a bit of a revelation for me. So
I think you're absolutely right, because I'm trying to work out
how a lot of this stuff, which has a B2B focus, can work in interior design when my clients are fairly wealthy people sitting in their own homes and aren't necessarily these people, but it's how you get to these people that have the links to those people. And
Yeah, but those people that you need to speak to are on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So they're all, you know, and
Some
it would
will
be, Sales Navigator would be amazing for you to create a list of your ideal customers, because there'll be
Yeah, and then
high worth individuals. And then it's just about creating a conversation. I think the way that marketing has changed is it used to be a very like thick line between business to consumer and business to business. Whereas actually, I think now the business to business side has actually fallen more into the business to consumer area, because we're all on our phones 24/7. So LinkedIn would be a great place for you to win some, some new clients, because it's just getting conversations going with local people and asking if they, it's just thinking about the messaging that's the brainstorm that you need to do is how would that conversation happen.
The thing I was told when I started up my business last year that really stuck with me was that nobody wants to be sold to.
No.
Everybody wants to be helped.
Yes.
And so when you said about finding those pain spots, the troubles they have, that's again, I'm reflecting on my own practice. That's what I need to do. Focus on what's their problem and then this is where I can help you. Rather than, hey, give me some work.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what people are doing. They're getting it wrong. They're just like getting an email list, and they're emailing a whole list saying, we can do this. Can we help you? Whereas when you get somebody that actually takes a moment to almost show you that they're caring about you and they take an interest, and they might say, look, I've helped X, Y, Z solve this problem. Are you finding that?
That said, does anyone else find LinkedIn a really quite toxic place?
Yeah,
where you message a really lovely personal message. Hi, really nice to connect with you. Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is a saturated because of the pitch slap piece. You've really got to stand out of the crowd and really think about your messaging to get it noticed. But even if you went out to, with Ronnie, helping her with the Inspirational Women's piece, she actually only messaged 50 people and we got 2 sponsorships from that. So you can still get work out. Not everyone's going to reply, but there will be a handful of people that will reply that you can get conversations with. But then as long as you manage those conversations correctly, you can convert, obviously.
I just started my LinkedIn Sales Navigator for 3 months trial again yesterday. So,
well, great time for you to look at.
I'm going to get
Yeah, this is the bit, because I only use LinkedIn on the free, and my budget at the moment for marketing and anything like that is pretty much zero. Yeah, because I'm in that catch-22. Well, I need the clients to pay for the marketing, but I need the marketing to get clients. So a lot of this stuff is.
Yeah, well, the good thing. The good thing about that, and I was in exactly the same place as that. Like at the back end of last year, you can get a 30-day free trial of Sales Navigator, and you can get a month trial of Galaxy for free. Right. So as long as you get it right, and you align it, you've got a month basically to get something out of it in order to pay for it. Moving forward, and it is possible to do that if you get the messaging piece right. But that's probably what I would recommend is really refine your ideal customer. Think about what that looks like.
So really use that free trial.
Yeah, get a free trial, but make sure you don't click start free trial until you're ready to go. Start your free trial of Galaxy at the same time, and then and then go from there. And I've just actually become an affiliate of Galaxy because I've started to kind of learn it quite well. So I think I need to look at that. But I think that means I get like an extra month free. So if you do want to try it, let me know, and I need to work out what that looks like. I think it said it was a month. I can give a month's free. So but you can do that for free, and if you do it properly, you should be able to get some conversations going, or at least get you close enough to getting something that you're like, do you know what, that's worth £80 again next month because I can see where that's going to come from. Yeah.
So are you using that same process for your fundraising side of things?
Yeah.
When you're doing fundraising?
Yeah, for Portsmouth Pride. Yeah, we're literally just about to launch a campaign next Friday. So we're doing an email campaign to Portsmouth businesses. First of all, to try and get more conversations, but then alongside that, we're running a LinkedIn campaign from, I don't know if anyone knows Tally Aslan, who's one of the trustees of Portsmouth Pride, but we're running it from Tally's LinkedIn. So it will be targeting Portsmouth business owners.
So what's your pain point when you're fundraising? Because obviously as a business, you're solving a problem, and that's why people buy your services. But it can be quite hard with fundraising.
Oh yeah,
to think of the
and to be honest with you, it's completely new to me because I've only been volunteering with Pride for maybe 12 months, and it's a whole new ball game, because you're right, everyone's looking to raise money, and it's just about trying to stand out. So with our campaign, we are trying to think of what the. Do you want me to read? Maybe I could send you what we're.
Sorry, can I just have you go, but I'd like to thank you on behalf of PB. That's absolutely first class. Agree with absolutely everything.
Good, thank you.